Welcome to another edition of Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Robert Winters.
And I'm Judy Nathans.
And today is, what is today's date? This is September 21st?
September 21st, yes.
Someone
said it's the first day of autumn. I know, I think they turned off the AC in my unit already, which is okay, but I just think it's a little early. But they didn't turn it on in time either, because it was supposed to be June 15th and it was really hot.
You know, when I was a kid, people lived in either houses or apartments. Yeah. And then at some point, miraculously, they became units. All right.
Did I say unit? I meant
yes,
apartment.
You did. Well, I know, but most people say unit these days.
You know why? Because I live in it's the biggest building I've ever lived in. So I guess to me, where I used to live was an apartment in a 4-family. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but in New York,
right. It's three units.
We always said apartment buildings, you know.
That's true. I guess right? it's interchangeable, units, apartments.
Yeah,
you're right.
I don't know, just evolving language, right?
Okay. You know? But anyway, so it is. Yeah, fall is here. Fall classic. That's the base, whatever.
Right, and the Red Sox have 5 games winning streak, so that's good news.
Amazing. And they're playing New York Mets tonight and Yankees this weekend. That'll be interesting. And a lot of, I guess the marathon's going to go on in October, and also
I forgot about that.
And the regatta is still planned. The head of the Charles, I'm volunteering for the sustainability committee once again.
Yeah, I suppose we could talk a little bit about it, but actually, you know, I'm a little bit out of sequence here, but you know, we have in the past talked a lot about the COVID updates and things. I don't want to dwell on it much, but
I think it's important because people. We're not doing it regularly at the meetings.
Yeah, so I just want to say one quick thing about COVID. So hopefully that's viewable. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I see it. All
right. Mm-hmm. So you know, at first glance, this is the update as of today.
Yeah, it doesn't look good at first glance.
It doesn't. But on the other hand, remember, I'm also just chunking out a piece and I'm scaling it appropriately. So what I saw was basically what appeared to be kind of an increasing rate of increase, if that's okay.
That's
right. That way.
Where are you starting? August?
Yeah. So this is So this is just a chunk of like 40-something days from early August until now.
That's
where
amazing.
It's really kind of where it's been a little dreadful right in here.
Yeah.
But you know, it's been a little faster than linear growth lately. It seems to be slowing down a little bit. I actually find the most interesting graphs to be not just this one here of the running 7-day averages, because what you see is the first peak in the initial fearful phase of this,
and then summer was better, and then it went bad,
and then surviving the winter was really ultimately the most miserable part of all of this, and then the Delta variant, right? And if you blow up
but we're going into the fall again, which if you see that's when it gets worse, when you go indoors.
Yeah, you know, I think that is definitely a factor, and but I think it was a lot of times it was the get-together. So, but here's the way I look at this. So,
and we also didn't have a vaccine back then, did we?
Right. So I'm looking at this here now. You know, this is from June until today, right? And I will just give you my interpretation of this. You know, so my first observation would be that if this were following the previous patterns, this would have just skyrocketed a lot more than what we're seeing. Mm-hmm. So I do still, and I've said this before, I feel it's sort of been blunted to some degree because of the vaccines.
Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind is that people are going to places like Fenway Park, and most people aren't wearing masks. So we're doing all the things that would have been viewed as incredibly dangerous and reckless a year ago. Mm. And nonetheless, we're still not flying out of control here. So we seem to be managing things.
Well, I don't know. What's this peak right here? When was that?
Yeah, but here's the thing is, and I think there was a New York Times article about this. They said for reasons that are unclear, there is a tendency for each of the previous peaks to sort of, you know, they go through these periods where they go for about a couple months, and then they just mysteriously start tailing away. I don't think it's actually mysterious. I think what you really saw was that kind of happening, you know, with some, you know, fits and starts. There's really actually been multiple variants that kind of dominated. Now everything's all Delta. But if things go the same way as before, even with the increased rate of, the more infectiousness of it all, there's a pretty good chance that things could actually be past that peak and are now actually, and you can kind of see it a little bit here, but again, it's really impossible to extrapolate here what's really going to happen, in the weeks to come. But it's very, very possible that this could be now on the decline. And apparently some of the news reports around the country are really reporting
Yeah, well,
that.
from what I've read, and these new variants, or at least it's a 2-month kind of thing, and then we're approaching the end of the 2 months, depending on where you are in the world.
I think it'll be more
they
than
don't know
2
what's
months.
right.
I think the greater infectiousness is really the reason why that period would be stretched out a little bit.
Yeah.
But so if it goes 3 months, fine, and then we could very well start seeing a decline. So hopefully no more mysterious variants.
Okay, all right. I'm going to ask I should have paid attention. That chart, though, is covering what? Massachusetts, Cambridge?
This is just Cambridge, okay? And that's an important question.
I know, but if we're so vaccinated here, why are there so many cases then? Or are there not? It just looked like that.
Actually, there are not.
Okay, so that dip was still lower than what it used to be.
Yeah, it's not terrible. We're actually not doing bad.
Okay,
and actually, many of these infections are, in fact, these. There's a reason why we didn't have a death for months. We had one about 2 weeks ago, but
yes, you're right.
Yeah, so the vaccines have been working. We have just basically, you could still get infected even if you were vaccinated, but you just are not going to be particularly symptomatic.
And actually, I should correct myself. We don't have the case like we did back before. Okay. I don't read charts very well, and I just see things, and I just,
Well, but what is basically you're seeing, and I think the Cambridge public health officials have said it, is that most of these are not, unvaccinated people in Cambridge. These are people who just are, we picked it up, and they may be transmissible to unvaccinated people.
Okay.
But so they're technically infected. They tested positive, but they're not hurting bad from it, and they get over it.
Right.
So it seems like it's actually far more managed right now in every respect.
And you're right, that point about the one death, because it was 123 for months, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So.
It went 122 days actually without a death, and honestly, that's the ultimate test, really.
Yeah.
So now, but thing is, this is all local phenomena. So this is how we're doing in Cambridge, and I say we're doing pretty well. Massachusetts generally pretty well. There's still some parts of the country. There's still parts of this world where not
Texas, Florida, Mississippi has. They said if they said per capita, if Mississippi were a country, they would be the worst in the world.
It's very, very real. Yeah. So to whatever degree people want to travel from place to place, then you run into some potential problems.
I'm not going anywhere. I haven't even been out of state. I have not been out of state.
As long as it's not any kind of too much of moving around, so that we're basically sharing the misery a little bit here. Then these things tend to go in clusters, regionally or in countries or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you see national statistics that say we've got a real serious problem in Florida or Texas or elsewhere, that as long as we don't have too many people running up here and infecting other people, we may very well be containing our own problem, and we just sort of make sure we don't do too much.
Well, hopefully with the marathon
communication
and,
of it.
The Head of the Charles, although those are all basically outdoor events. I'd be more concerned for the participants themselves, who have to obviously stay somewhere at night, and usually they stay. But that's their issues. They're going to be.
So if they're coming from elsewhere, then okay, we run into some.
And I think actually, I have to check that. I think they have to be vaccinated, but I'm not sure about that.
I'm all for that. I carry my card.
I know you do. I photographed it because I don't want to carry mine around.
Yeah. No, actually, it turns out a badge holder card is exactly the right size.
I know. I saw yours, Robert.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you don't have a phone. But
yeah. So meanwhile, let's talk a little bit here about. I mean, this is a fall of an odd numbered year, and in Cambridge, that also means municipal elections.
I don't. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not particularly thrilled. I'm going to be a little more outspoken this year than in previous years, and I'm not thrilled with the candidate selection by and large. We may have 19 city council candidates for 9 seats.
I'd say there's about 4, other than the incumbents, which some of those, you might not like, but other
some
than
of
the
them,
incumbents, I'd say maybe 4 are to me worthy to be there. 4 or 5.
yeah, no, I agree. And it's remark. Maybe it's because of the people I hang with. I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
it
that's
is
true.
incredible to me how many people, including myself,
Mhm.
honestly say how very few people they intend to rank on their ballot this year.
I, 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 I'm there too.
Yeah, no, a lot
I
of
could
people are
see
saying
maybe
it.
about 6, I don't know.
Yeah, and you know, and maybe people, maybe including me, maybe we're being a little unfair to some of the incumbents. I can't say for sure, but I got to say I've been pretty unhappy
Hey, you either
with
like
them.
people or you like what they're doing, you want to see them continue to do it, or
Yeah,
you just feel like, hey,
yeah. I mean, it's a lot of times you may just vote because even if you disagree with them, you at least feel they have some level of integrity, and you figure, okay, they
true.
deserve to be an elected official.
That's and like I was thinking that before, like even a clock is right twice a day. Is that the old expression? And it's
Exactly.
true. Like some of these candidates that or incumbents that I'm not crazy about, sometimes they say something I do agree with, So
Well, I like it when they say something I agree with, which is sincere, as opposed to the usual. There's a
right.
lot of political theater, especially
Oh,
in the
right
lead up
now,
to
oh my
municipal elections.
God. It's like, put out these orders and do
Right,
this
like
and
last night there was a debate all having to do with unionization
I
of
know.
a Darwin's or something, and
Mhm.
it was quickly turning into kind of a political competition for who
I know.
loves unions the most. And I thought, well, okay, great, but
Yeah, yeah,
I
and I
don't.
had to look up a lot of that because I didn't understand what card check is, and I did look at it briefly, and it isn't necessary. It is good for the worker, but I guess there's some issues. At least the thing I read, and maybe it was written by a whatever, but that the owner or the business owner could be in jeopardy because there's a certain time limit when everything has to be done, and it could go again. So I
Right.
don't know. I just it's
Well, there was also,
unfortunate that you have to unionize, that you can't
yeah,
have a
well,
good, but
in
yeah,
that particular matter,
yeah,
there's also the notion about, well, if by supporting unionization of workers in cafes,
right,
are you fundamentally making life difficult for one of our local businesses, right?
exactly.
And
Yeah,
I
did
don't
you?
know that we are,
Well,
but
I read the link about the pavement owner, the pavement coffee house, because he's a local owner, and it was a good or it was in BUR had it because he
yeah.
pointed out some of his issues, and he was in support of it, but pointed out from an owner perspective what
Well,
it
you know
could,
what
yeah.
but I, maybe because I'm somewhat jaded because of all the politics, I'm
Mhm.
also looking in from the point of view of like, well, who's trying to appeal along the,
Right.
support your local economy political issue, are there,
Yeah,
if
but it
there,
sounds to me more like our revolution. I mean, nothing against that, but it's more like Worker United. And now we're using, uh, it's going to people, because let's face it, a lot of the people in these coffee shops and are very educated. They haven't been able to get work maybe elsewhere, and they're gonna advocate more for themselves. I don't
right?
know. Could be
Yeah.
wrong about that, but
Now, another thing that's happening right around now is, there are the candidate forums,
yes,
either albeit virtually for the most part.
yes,
I think there are a few ones that are exceptional where you can actually meet somebody in person, but
really.
Delta variant is basically changed a lot of plans, and a
And
lot of
Robert, I
ones.
noticed one of them got changed because there was supposed to be one tomorrow, Thursday, but my
Yeah,
brother's keeper, and I saw that
yeah,
it is now on October.
yeah. I mean,
Something
yeah,
like that.
they
Yeah.
were in touch with me, asking me, okay,
Okay.
we've decided we have to change it this way here. There were some conflicts
There's a lot of
with
stuff
other
going on
events.
that night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
the whole
Yeah.
purpose of my putting together the calendar was to help
Yeah.
to avoid the conflicts,
Sure.
and
Well, it's
for the
nice that
most
they
part,
reached out. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's happening for the most part.
Hmm.
And there are some organizations who try and get the information very quick to make sure they're essentially claiming a space,
Right.
in the calendar so they can say, well, we were there first, and that's good. That's great. It's, rush ahead, get online.
Hmm.
Don't, just avoid the conflict. And if that means being
Right.
aggressive and claiming a date, do it. Definitely do it. But most of them, Porter Square's got some dates worked out. Mid Cambridge gave me a couple of dates today. I put those ones at their round robin type of around the table format. I don't know how they're going to do that, or
Oh,
if they're going
right.
to do it.
That's right.
They
Is
are
that going to be in person?
no.
Okay.
They're gonna again, Delta variant, right? But
Well, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
so they are going to spread it out over 2 days.
I see.
And I know I actually made a suggestion to them, and I don't know whether they're going to do it or not, which is that if they're going to do it using Zoom, there's these breakout room
Oh,
capabilities.
yes, which I
And
never
there's-
like to participate in, but yeah. go ahead.
Well, there's also a problem where are they
Yeah.
going to get recorded automatically or not, because they want to have
Oh,
the
right.
recordings available. So
That's right.
there are
Usually
s-
they're not. Yeah.
right. So what you
So-
can do is you can put in links and things so that people can
Someone's
run
got to know
to
what they're
particular
doing with
ones.
that. Yeah, right.
It's to me, it's like 7-ball juggling. To me, I just
It's-
wouldn't
it's-
want to be involved in it because
Yeah.
it's hard. It's
Yeah.
just hard, you know.
Yeah,
And
I have to say, in deference to, the Jewish holidays were last week, and the congregation I sometimes attend I only did 1-2 services in Zoom, but they integrated video. They had they really had some good people in charge, and that's what it takes. You have to have some people with technical know-how.
you basically
to really
need a
pull that
producer.
off.
Yeah,
You need
yeah,
a producer, right?
You really, you do.
Um,
You really do.
All
So,
right, so that's, yeah. Speaking of forums, right? So ABC had theirs the other day.
all right,
and
now I
then
haven't watched any of it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Is it YouTube? I recorded it. It was on, CCTV actually tonight is having it. If you want it, 7 to 9, right after, well, our show normally airs, but
Yeah.
they are airing that again. So I did actually rewatch
Yeah,
it. It was
so-
strange. It was a little strange at the end. You had to do yes or no, and Paul Toner objected, and Patty Nolan wanted more nuance, and they said, "Well, sorry, we're just
Well,
very,
you know,
it's like you have to take a pledge."
all right, so
no.
let's sort of like the bike safety people, like, in other words.
Oh, really?
Well, the
Okay.
bike safety people, and
Yeah.
again, I'm not doing this as a dig on them, but the thing is, the notion
Yeah.
is to make candidates sign a pledge saying you will not listen to any other opinions other than ours.
This is, you have to agree that you want buildings here, and there.
That's it,
Yeah.
and then
So
no room for
Nicola,
nuance. nothing.
Patty, Paul, Toner, Joe McCourt kind of went along with it, which I was surprised in a way, because he had said some other things that I thought, makes sense. But he is really for the whole AHO stuff. But,
Yeah.
But it was interesting because you could see the politics around it.
But I think you got to make a distinction between candidate forums that are hosted by organizations who are endorsing candidates and whether they
Right.
admit it or not, have already pretty much made up their minds in advance of the
Well,
forums
Well,
who they
you
were
couldn't
going to
even
be endorsing.
you couldn't even go to the forum if you didn't fill out the questionnaire.
Exactly.
And then
So-
they had the person you pointed out. He's not even running, but he turned in a questionnaire and they let him speak, which is what's
Is that
that
right?
about?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that was the Robert Exto.
No. He's a
Oh,
candidate.
I'm sorry.
You're
Roy
thinking of
Verbitsky.
Roy
Roy
Verbitsky.
Verbitsky.
Right. Yeah.
Who
Right.
was,
So,
but
all right. So,
how did that happen?
So I think voters, should make a distinction between
Yeah.
if they're going to learn about candidates from candidate forums, they need to make a distinction
What kind of-
between
yeah.
forums that are organized by organizations who either
That
are
have an
or,
agenda.
or who
Yeah.
already have endorsed slates of candidates. So
Right.
that if you're a candidate who is not part of their blessed slate, right, then you're already in a kind of a hostile environment.
But
Right.
they have not endorsed yet, ABC.
They may not have endorsed, but we already know at
Right.
least
But
the majority of who they're endorsing.
But the other
So-
one, which is going to have a forum, the Cambridge, they have endorsed.
That's right. That's right. So here's a situation, and actually this relates to the candidates. And I'm actually
Yeah.
gonna,
Yeah,
I'm
show
just gonna
that. Yeah.
flash over here.
Okay.
Got to do a little quick scroll up here to some of the candidates, right? So so as I say, there are 19 candidates for city council and 9 for school committee.
Right.
It's unfortunate that the school committee often takes a back seat to all of this, but I guess it's always
Well,
been that way, so we can't
yeah.
really complain.
Because half the population doesn't even know that there's schools.
Right. So there's a full expectation that I
Yeah.
think the ABC people will endorse 9 people, probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it largely be at least 5 of the incumbents who are already part of their slate. Tim Toomey is off because he's not seeking
Right.
re-election.
Right.
And then the question is as well, do they pad that out with people like either Joe McGurk or Paul Toner or somebody else? I really don't know. I haven't been following them.
Oh, I don't think,
uh,
who, ABC?
Yeah, I just haven't been paying
They're
attention
not
to
gonna,
them.
they're not gonna put Paul Toner on there. Are you kidding?
Right. So I don't really know what they're planning to do, because the
Yeah.
truth is that in the past, and they will never admit this in a million years. But the thing is the first function of candidate slates is often incumbency protection. So if you've got incumbents, and if endorsing a challenger might actually lead to the possibility that they would end up doing better than one of their incumbents,
They're not
and
gonna do
therefore
it.
turning
Yeah.
their incumbent into the feeder rather
Right.
than the other way around, they might strategically choose to exclude candidates. So how they, it's like, a witch's brew of how these decisions get made internally by people. And it's not all based on merit. I just
Well, I
want to
can
be real
say
clear.
right now, there's definitely two incumbents. They would, or three, I think, Sumbul, Mark, and G.
Yeah,
Right.
but
It's
basically,
questionable whether
the-
Alana or it's whole thing
no,
about the
they'll be, no,
2072.
no,
What?
there's no
What?
question in my mind that
What?
she'll be endorsed. The
Really? I don't. She didn't come. She came out. Wasn't the whole thing about 2072 Mass Ave? Wasn't she?
right now she's
kinda
sort of stuck in betwixt and between based on
Yeah,
her
I
voter
guess that's.
base. So
You're
if,
right. That's true.
if she wants to go full ABC of pro-density, she might actually jeopardize some of the people like neighborhood voters in
Yeah.
mid-Cambridge, for
But
example.
she
So,
didn't get. She didn't get it last time, did she? She didn't get their endorsement last time.
sure she did. Absolutely she
Alana?
did.
Really?
On
She wasn't in
ABC.
that group.
We're talking to ABC now.
I know we
Okay.
are, and I don't remember
Yes,
seeing her face.
yes.
I saw Dennis.
Of course,
I saw.
she was, there's no question. She was absolutely part
Okay.
of that,
All right.
right? So are they going to go for 9? I don't know. The interesting thing to me is actually what's happened. Like there's the CCC group, Cambridge Citizens Coalition.
Right.
Right. So they've endorsed 4 people.
Just
they've
4. I know.
They announced that, so there are 2 incumbents. It's Dennis Carlone and Patty Nolan.
Right.
And then
Burhan Azim.
No,
No?
CCC. Listen.
Oh, wait a minute. Dana
Cambridge
Bullister.
Citizens
Right.
Coalition.
Right.
Dana Bullister and Nicola Williams. Okay, so they just endorsed
right.
4.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It kind of leads me to sort of wonder a little bit. My understanding is Quentin Zondervan, who was endorsed by them 2 years ago, I don't believe actually even sought their endorsement this time.
Because
Not so sure he would have gotten it anyway.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that he and Jivan Sabrina Wheeler have basically been running almost like as a tag team. They're doing dual fundraising, dual events. They're identifying.
Which is interesting though, because they don't agree on the whole build at any cost, anywhere density.
Right, but they are both
on
central
public safety
endorsed,
and all that.
But they are central endorsed figures with the Democratic Socialists of America.
Oh, right, that just
DSA.
came out. Yeah, I saw that whole lawsuit.
There's even literature saying vote for these 2. They are our DSA endorsed candidates.
/ our revolution. Yeah.
Right. So now, again, I don't want to just sound like the Monday morning quarterback and all of this stuff, but so how is this really going to play out? I heard some people from both the Our Revolution group and the Cambridge Residents Alliance announced that they were part of some new coalition.
Oh, I heard that yesterday. Well, that was in public comment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So are they going to
announce this?
So is the other member of the coalition like the Sunrise Boston group?
Sunrise, yeah.
And so is this really the strategy here to simply target
I think so.
a lot of Gen Z people and bring out that vote and have Jivan and Quentin be sort of like the centerpieces of that? Now, of course, they'll have to put more people on that slate then.
Yeah,
of course.
I did appreciate Patty Nolan from the ABC Forum more than I have other times that she's been talking, because she was the one that said, it's not just housing. There's this, and this, and, even though this is obviously ABC's thing, but and I think that's really important. Not everybody, and also, was it Paul Toner or someone else said, have you really talked to other people in the neighborhood? Or no, it was Joe McQuirk, I think. Joe McQuirk, I think, said, where basically, I'm paraphrasing, where are the people that you're not hearing from? All right, where's their voice? And it's true. I mean,
what you have is a situation where a relatively small number of people have decided that the issues of importance to people, this is a very elitist thing to be doing, I have to say.
Well, isn't it basing on that questionnaire they did about the #1 issue in Cambridge? I mean, I don't know how many people responded to that, 400, 500, whatever.
But honestly, being the #1 issue doesn't really say a lot to me. I know. I mean, and then also, and whenever it comes to the question of housing and housing affordability, the wording of the question is much more important than the phrase.
You're
Because the way I look at it is that unless you're extraordinarily wealthy, the affordability of your housing is a matter that is something that matters to you, even if you're not seeking, quote, affordable housing, right? So
the whole word affordable is like,
it's
affordable where, to who,
Yeah.
you know? And it is true. You need to make a lot of money here to, although somebody touted some figure that's totally off the mark, but anyway, it was just.
Right. Well, I mean, the biggest problem actually at Cambridge in terms of the housing issue is that, you know, I always say it's sort of income inequality by design. So in other words, when they made decisions about drawing people from certain industries to Cambridge, and with the growth of Kendall Square, and a lot of people came here competing. They're competing for housing stock, and housing stock has actually grown much faster than most places, but still, you know, there's a lot of people, the big influx of people coming in here.
But what kind of housing people would say,
we'll see how it shakes out, with, you know, as we weather the COVID storms, right?
And you know what, Nicola Williams mentioned something which I thought was not, because she kind of criticized MIT that all they're doing is building labs, and I don't know, I walk all the time along Albany, and the dorms are going up there constantly.
MIT's not building labs so much, but they do own land that was being
I
set aside
that, but
for
they have
pharmaceutical
also,
industry.
They have built a lot of you know, housing for students and graduates.
They have done that very much. You know, should they be doing more? You could certainly make that case. But
well, they are going to be going to be the other end.
It is a bit sort of simplistic to just say university build housing, because first off, not everybody who's a student at Harvard or MIT necessarily wants to live in MIT.
It's not that cheap.
Housing. That's
right. It's not that cheap.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got to. I think we should go now, and we'll come back in a half hour. No, or maybe
actually we can go a little bit longer.
Right, because we started late. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, I just want to say something because I don't want to dwell too much on the candidates forevermore here. But
let's go on.
But this endorsement process, you know, we'll see how it shakes out. We'll start to hear words about endorsements very soon. You know, we only have the one officially announced so far. But you know, there was one particular candidate named Robert Eckstut, who I have never met personally, who apparently, when seeking out endorsements, didn't get endorsements, certainly didn't get it from the CCC group, and then decided to go ballistic on his Facebook page, basically trying to rip anyone and everyone in his path to shreds.
What a nice white guy.
What a nice fellow, you know? I mean, honestly, you know, I think Greg Morey may not win the Greg Morey Award this year. You know, honestly.
And that's a really low bar.
You know, it's
or a high bar, depending how you look at it.
You know, I mean, there is a bit of a tradition about candidates at least being reasonably cordial, and it is sort of a de facto truth about PR elections too. If you're interested in transfers, or you know, or even if you want your votes, if you're defeated, to transfer to people you like.
I don't think he's in it to be liked or to be whatever. He's in it to just have his.
You know, because
it's easy to run for. Let's face it, it's easy to run. You don't have to do anything. Just put your name out
exactly. There. Anyway, we'll have a lot more to say about this in the coming weeks. So perhaps we should just we'll
close off this segment, and we'll come back with our second half.
Yeah, we'll come back in a few minutes on Cambridge Inside Out.